why you should never be friends with someone in the LinkedIn DMs. That's the topic of this episode of the How to Make Money as a Creator podcast. If you don't know who I am, my name is Matthew Lakajev. I run a program called 7 Figure Creators where we help business owners and LinkedIn creators drive 6, then 7 figures to their business through LinkedIn, through creating content and sending DMs to actually generate from their personal LinkedIn profile. And currently working with over 500 creators right now as well, which I'm absolutely loving it. Now, the topic of this podcast was, I was chatting to a few clients in our program, and a post came up in the community feed where someone was talking about like, oh, I get too friendly with people within the LinkedIn DMs, and it's like a problem, and it's like I'm trying to be really nice and I don't want to be salesy. And I want to tell you why, by actually being friends with people, you're actually doing the wrong thing ethically by them, and then what you should do instead, and why it's a bad idea, and then how to fix it, how to actually book more meetings. Now, the problem that people have usually is they're too friendly in the DMs and they don't want to come across as salesy, right? And I'm doing a big 2 fingers up quotes if you haven't got me on video, right? They don't want to be salesy, when I don't really understand this, because I'd rather be salesy and make money than not salesy and be broke, but sure. There's just some big fear around being considered salesy, which is really weird. But the worst thing you can do in LinkedIn DMs is be really good friendly to people. The reason why it's bad is, imagine if, right, so take this as an example. LinkedIn is the world's largest B2B networking platform. And people come there to get information, have valuable conversations with other individuals, and they kind of see it as like a work thing. Like it's a work thing in their mind. It's not a Instagram scroller feed, having chit chats and talking about these funny videos with your mates, right? Like I send my mate Andy tons of funny videos in Instagram, and we just laugh, chat shit on it. It's really funny. But like on LinkedIn, I don't really do that with people, right? It's a different platform, a different environment. So if you're on LinkedIn, right, and you start a conversation with a prospect who you eventually want to sell to, people come to LinkedIn to connect. Like human beings love connection and they love making friends, right? So the problem is if you jump onto LinkedIn and then you start being friends with someone and you start talking about how like you love Manchester United, the football team, they love Manchester United, you start talking about the players, you start getting deep into it, you just start having these really good friendly conversations. You may even get onto them and have a coffee chat, right? On an actual Zoom call, right? Now, what happens when you do this, right? And let's say you do this for like 2-3 weeks and you're like, I've just had too many casual conversations. Like, how do I turn it and ask to work with them? And you're like, fuck it. One day I'm just going to you just say, okay, cool. Hey, do you actually want some help generating leads on LinkedIn? Imagine if you did that after like 2-3 weeks, right? But imagine if you did this like in person. Imagine if you met someone at a networking event and you just met them multiple times and then you became really good friends with them. You were texting on WhatsApp and then all of a sudden you just pitched them, right? What that person's going to think when you eventually pitch them is they're going to think, wow, I can't believe that this Matt guy spent 2.5 weeks becoming friends with me and talking about Manchester United only for his ulterior motive was to pitch me. That's it. And that is going to crush the person on the inside, because most people human beings love connection, right? We come to connect. That's why community is so strong, having good friends. And they may have felt that, oh my God, I made a new friend. I actually have a friend. And then they realize after 2 weeks, and they may be really lonely, or they may have a lot of friends. It doesn't matter. It still hurts. And then they're going to come back and they're going to be like, man, that Matt guy only sent me those messages to just be friends with me so that he could eventually sell to me. And that's what they're going to think. And that's why just being friends in the DMs is extremely unethical, because you're actually playing with people's feelings. And people are like, oh, I don't want to sell them or talk about things early. But it's like, if you don't do that, you are leading people on. Like, you can't talk about your cat and cats and send cat photos of each other for like weeks and then pitch them. You can't, because you're the friend zone. Like, they think you're friendly and they don't know what you do. And that's a huge problem in LinkedIn DMs. So whenever someone says just be friends in the DMs, I'm like, you're ethically doing the wrong thing. You're actually just messing with people's minds and messing with them emotionally. Now, I'll tell you what you should do instead. The key to do it instead is always keep the topic of conversation in the messages around the specific thing that you might be able to help them with. So, if you're a mortgage broker or you're a financial advisor, only talk about and give them value aligned with financial advice. That's it. So all the questions you ask about, hey, what's the goal, savings and stuff like that, maybe they're not going to disclose numbers, but talk about that. If you're doing LinkedIn lead generation, only talk about generating leads on LinkedIn. That's it. Sure, you can add in a photo of your cat, personalization, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But only keep the scope of the conversation into that. And same as if you're a ghostwriter. Same thing. Conversation around, or if you make people videos, or if you're an SEO agency, only do that. And make sure that you're being personalized and you're relevant. But every question you ask is geared around it. Because for that person, you're not leading them on then, and you're not setting the expectation in their mind that person then eventually is just then when you do eventually after a couple of weeks, hey, I'm looking to work with a couple of other clients in SEO. Are you potentially looking for help from this? It seems like you might be. They're not going to get weird because the whole time they'll talk about SEO and they know you're an SEO person. So when they go to SEO, but if you just start talking about Manchester United, the football team, for 2 weeks, and then you're like, hey, I just want to check, do you also want help with your SEO? And they'll be like, what will happen in their mind is they'll be like, man, I was like, the other day when I went to the gym and I was running, I was remembering that conversation I had with this Mac guy around Manchester United. I really like him. Like, he's a cool guy. Maybe when I come to Australia, I can meet him. And then you come in and then you just flip flop and you just go to SEO and then you follow them up on SEO multiple times. Hey, do you need help with SEO? Do you need help with SEO? And that person in mind, you've actually just crushed them emotionally. And then what you've done is that you've also then just trashed your reputation because they're just going to think of you, wow, you just tried to manipulate me for that long period of time. And that's why when you hear advice about people to say being friends in the DMs, they're actually trashing your reputation because they don't know what's going on. Like, so that's the topic of this episode. I know it's heavy, but like, I see this all the time. And I'm like, people are in their mind, they're like, I'm trying to do the right thing and not be salesy. But it's like, by you not asking the right questions and being friends, you're actually doing a worse thing to the other person by leading them on because you can't do the hard conversation and the hard thing. And you can't have that hard conversation. It's like in life, if you don't have the hard conversations, it's like you're doing the wrong thing by the other person. Like, in the end. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Pretty deep. Wasn't the nicest thing, but just ask the questions aligned with what you do. And that's it. And keep the topic of conversation within business, and then you're going to be fine. No cat conversations 2 weeks. Catch you later.